Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Title Thoughts podcast by Title Assistants. So, here with us, we have our guest with us who is the business development manager at Bowe Digital, where he helps title companies with custom marketing. The thing he loves the most about his job is strategizing solutions with businesses and then watching them see the plan comes into action. He is Bradley Erb.
Thank you, Usama. Good morning.
Good morning to you too. Thank you so much. And let me introduce myself as well as I am Usama Soomro, digital marketing manager at the Title Assistance, which is a tech-oriented company that provides support services to title companies, taking their loads off so that title companies can focus on closing or major aspects of their business and building it. So, hey Bradley, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking out the time. Tell me about yourself and your career. What interests you to be in marketing? Discuss your experience with us from the beginning.
Sure. So I have been with Bowe Digital for 3 years now. And my job here is the business development manager, which is primarily new client acquisition and building these types of relationships like I've built with you. The thing I love most about my job and working with title agents and real estate attorneys across the country is I get to hear their stories. I get to hear how they started their business and what their goals were. And, a lot of them are family owned businesses. So you get to hear a little bit of that lineage that they had from their other family members, and I get to hear their pain points. It takes a vulnerable conversation to happen for people to open up about their business and tell you, man, I'm really struggling with this right now, or I just can't seem to get over this hurdle. And in those vulnerable conversations, we really get to talk about their resources on the human side and the tech side, and that's where my strategic thinking comes in, and knowing all of the tools that Bowe Digital has to offer, and even other tools that we don't offer, and to be able to fill those gaps and to fill those voids that they've got in their business, where something may seem like a monumental problem that they're never going to get over, or this insurmountable hurdle, and now all of a sudden they've got this resource and this tool and this new fresh idea, and watching that inspiration on their face while they go and utilize that and implement it in their business towards that success. Man, that keeps me going, and it keeps me waking up every day enjoying my job.
That is a huge challenge for you that you like to.
Yes, it is. It is, but it's one that I enjoy, and I really appreciate that opportunity to be able to talk with so many title companies all over the country.
All right, that's great. How do you stay current on the industry trends and changes in the real estate market?
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one because things are changing quite often, especially on the marketing and communication side with tech platforms. But when it comes to the industry and the trends in the real estate market, we immerse ourselves in reading publications in and around real estate. So we don't just limit that education and consuming that information to just title, but we do stay very relevant through title publications, through real estate associations. We keep up to date on mortgage lending and things like that. Really, any industry that touches the title process, we feel like, to be the best resource to our partners, we need to be up to date on, so that we can to help position them as that thought leader and that expert to their customers. Another way that we do this is we stay relevant with the state and national title associations. Those are really great networks of people and information and institutional knowledge that, once you start poking around and start developing relationships with those members and leaders of those organizations, you can really find out a lot, especially when you're talking about a product like title insurance, where it's different state to state most often. And in some states, it's different county to county, or one side of the street versus the other. So, there's a lot of different nuances there that it takes a diligent effort to maintain, a level of understanding from coast to coast and border to border. And then I'd say lastly to that, we just talk to our partners. We work with title agents, real estate attorneys, title industry vendors, underwriters, and so on and so forth. And these folks have a very specific insight to their portion of that transaction. And I think having some sort of base knowledge on each piece of that transaction really helps us with a holistic view on the industry and on title and real estate as well.
Okay, so you guys work on offline and online digital marketing business as well.
Yes.
Okay, so how does
Yes.
a title company's online presence affect its ability to attract new clients?
I think it affects it greatly. That your digital presence is your digital doormat. That is the typically when a consumer or a new real estate agent or loan officer is searching for a title company to partner with, they're not looking through the phone book trying to find your phone number to call you right off the bat.
Hmm.
They're going online and they're going to go to Google or their search engine and they're going to type in title companies in my area. So your digital and online presence starts right there with your SEO. It starts with having a website that's current and up to date with refreshed and relevant content. It really then spills into social media and your overall footprint. What are you doing online? At how many different places on the internet can your company be located and found? That's what keeps you relevant and keeps you able to be found by the people that are bringing you your next file. And the consumers and the realtors, they have a standard that while they're working with their client, which is that end consumer, the buyer, seller, they want to be partnering with people that maintain a certain standard, that maintain their standard. So they don't want to necessarily be sending their customer to a company that's not up to date on the industry and on best practices and things like that. And then I would say it also affects the being able to attract those new clients, because just because you have that website or maybe you have social media but you don't use it, what's the point? If I go to a social media account and it's live but nobody's posted on it in 6+ months, man, that looks like an old abandoned house to me. I don't want to go there, because what is that going to offer me? Or if I go to a website that looks very archaic, or maybe doesn't have an order title button, if I'm a realtor or a loan officer, it's not useful to me. So not only do you need that online presence, but you need to bring resources to the people that are in your audience. And that's what we try to talk to our folks about. And I think at Title Assistance, you guys are a great example of somebody that has that presence that's useful to your customers. Not only the education piece, but if I want to talk to somebody, you guys make it so easy to do that. So I think you guys are a great example of how to do that as well, and something that people could look into and try to mimic.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, basically, when you have a website and the content that you put it, and I used to say, like, when you have a website and you do not market it, it is like it's a beautiful poster banner in a desert.
Yes. Yeah. So you have to draw people to that. If you're going to put forth the
Exactly.
time and energy and resources into building this great, wonderful, robust thing, but nobody knows about it, what's the point? It is like that billboard in the desert
Uh,
where you
it-
may get a few people that pass by, but the people you need and want to see it have no clue.
exactly. It is your first impression to your customers, and definitely to optimize it with the keywords and the content you should use on your website, which should be like it should be a personalized, a specialized. Again, that can make you more superior on the others. That's the
Exactly.
point. Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of that content, we talk about with our title company partners that, yeah, you need to talk about the title and who your underwriters are and the other tech and tools that you've got, but let's highlight the humans. Let's humanize the title company, because as we all know, title is not necessarily a sexy industry or a topic that people get super jazzed about, but people
Yeah.
can relate to other people. So let's humanize that. Let's humanize who people are going to be talking to at the front desk. As soon as they open up the door for that closing day, bam, who are we going to see? Let's talk about that person. Let's have pictures of the office and pictures of, possibly closings and things like that. So that so that your potential customers and your current clients can envision themselves right there, so that when they show up, it feels familiar, because that's what we want. We want that connection with other humans. And if we can start to get some of that comfortability level through a website or social media, and that's the beginning of that connection. And sometimes you've never even spoken to that person.
Yeah, it is also looking like a P2P more than B2B, if you know what I mean.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it is.
Yeah, people trust people.
Hmm. They
Yeah.
do, the more you can highlight those people on all of your platforms digitally and in person. Now that we are kind of past the being stuck inside and not being able to get out and communicate with others and be face to face,
Yeah.
sending some of those people out and having people and having an open house where folks can just come in and familiarize themselves with other people and with your business. It's very, very important.
Yeah, so do you think networking and building relationships is vital with real estate agents for title companies?
I do. It's very important. These are the folks that you're relying on to bring you your next deal and your next file. And you're relying on them to help you build your business while you're helping them to build theirs by providing that great and wonderful, seamless experience to the title and closing process. So it's very important. And I think that being a resource to that real estate agent and their business through quality content is going to be what's going to set you apart. That's going to be what's going to help you succeed and be able to build that relationship. Because a lot of what we find is, you've got two different portions of real estate agents and loan officers right now. You've got the older generation, kind of your legacy customer, and they're wanting and expecting, this set of expectations. And then you've got your maybe newer millennial up and coming agent that's bringing you those files, and they expect something completely different. So I think providing content and building relationships with both sides and everybody in between is so very important. And it's honestly been a bit of a struggle for a lot of folks. That transition from hand holding and everything being paper and physical and this grand hour-long production where we're flipping papers at the closing table one by one is kind of going by the wayside. Now, it's not completely gone away, and there's still a certain section of those folks that expect that. But now you've really got to talk about that content and building that relationship online. Are you tagging those realtors that are bringing you those files at the closing table? Are you tagging their brokerage offices? Are you tagging the loan officer and their lending facility? How are you really showing that love digitally? And then in person, what are you doing to help them out with their business? Are you providing educational seminars? Are you providing webinars? Are you providing, a place for happy hours where people can network, where maybe real estate agents could be in the same room together, and be talking, to have them talk about the market, have them talk around and with you about what they're seeing and they're hearing. Because the more the more a title company can start to understand their customers' problems, the more they can start to be a resource and kind of bridge those gaps for them.
Yeah, I would also add in this, like, customer reviews are also important. Like,
Mhm.
you have platforms like G2, Capterra, Yelp, Facebook, Trustpilot. You can go and ask your customers to give you reviews on that.
Sure. And I think you guys at Title Assistance, I think you guys do a great job about that too. What are a couple of your guys' tactics in doing that so well?
Yeah, basically we are the load, like, distributors. Like, we take the load off from title companies. Like, we can scale up and down according to the needs of the market, whether it's bullish or bearish.
Sure. I think that's what a lot of your customers and our customers are doing as well. As the real estate agents market is going bear and bull and everywhere in between, that's exactly what the title company is having to fluctuate with in that moment. And being able to be flexible and figuring out when it's bearish, what are we doing with our time and our humans on the team? How are we repurposing that time that they would have been spending doing searches and doing closings, where now it's a little bit slower? What are they doing now? How are we putting those man hours to good use? And maybe it's working on your digital footprint. Maybe it's talking to your customers, trying to get those testimonials and those reviews
Mhm.
online. online. There's a lot of that type of work that we are seeing happening right now while we're waiting on it to go from bear to bull.
Definitely. So you were talking about educations as well. So can you talk about the role of offering educational resources and guides for potential customers in the
Sure.
marketing strategy? Yeah.
Yeah, those resources and guides are very important. And I think when a lot of folks in title hear educational pieces or guides for their customers, I think everybody's brain automatically goes to, oh, we got to do Title 101. But here's the thing, title for a lot of these real estate is just where they're going to go close, end that deal, and get a paycheck. They don't necessarily care about every step that you're going through to produce that title, to search it, to clear up any issues that may have come back on that. They just don't care. It's a necessary evil to the real estate agent, and it's a place to get paid. So, what are those educational resources? What are some of those guides you could be putting out and thinking about? What kind of goes back to what we just talked about with building those relationships is listening to your customer. Where are their
Mm.
pain points? Where's their pain point? Where are they struggling the most? Is it with tech and being efficient in a bear or bull market? Let's talk about that. You don't have to be the expert on a topic to bring it up into a conversation, to be that thought leader, to just put it out there and say, hey, we hear that this is an issue. Let's talk about it. Maybe there's some solutions out there. Maybe there are some tactics or methods that you haven't thought about but we use in something that's similar. So I think listening to your customers and hearing what are you struggling with, and then coming up with some sort of content based on that. Again, you don't have to be the expert. You just have to be getting the conversation started and letting your customers know that you hear them. I hear you. How powerful is that when you've got a problem and you go to somebody that's a professional and they say, I hear you and I understand that problem. Let's talk about it. It's so powerful. So I think listening to those customers, identifying their needs and identifying your strengths and how you may be able to weave in your strengths with those deficits on their end is going to be pretty powerful. And then once you have those guides and those educational offerings and those handouts, then you have to let people know that you've got them as a resource. It's kind of like the website that we talked about earlier, where it's great if you've got it, but if you don't tell anybody that it's there, it's like a billboard in the desert. And that's not a place that you want to be. So it would be similar to how you guys at Title Assistants are promoting these podcasts. You've got this educational offering and you've got these tools and resources, but how do you tell people about it? And you guys do a great job about that on LinkedIn and other social media. But how did you guys identify those methods to where you're being efficient with those resources?
Yeah. So basically, there are type of content, like it's informative content, there is educative, and there is one more type of content which is entertaining. So what I think is we should put an 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the content should cover the informative, the educative, the entertaining part of your content, and the rest of the 20% of which should be uh, related to the services that you offer.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's one thing to bring content, but it's another thing to not try to close that loop. Here's all of this educational, and here's some tips and tricks for you. But then
Exactly.
if you can't bring them back towards you, to let them know that you're the one that brought them this, and you're the one that's the expert and the one that brought that conversation to light and that thought leader, then you just left them out there. You kind of pushed them back out into that desert with your website that you're not telling people about. So I think you guys are right on track with that, and obviously it's working.
Yeah. So let's discuss about some of your marketing strategies. Like can you share with us like example of successful marketing campaigns you've implemented for your title company in the past?
Yeah, so one of the most successful campaigns we ran, we had a title company out west that was wanting to increase their social media following. And we hear this as a goal quite often. We just need more followers and we want more people to see our stuff. And then when we start doing some sort of content analysis, we realize you're not putting out any stuff. So how or why would anybody want to join that following? So we really identified a couple of key indicators for a measurable success rate for increasing your following. How are we going to do it? Well, people want content. You can never have too much content as any business, but much less in the real estate space. And again, there are lots of different types of content, from written content, long form content, social media, video content, But I think the best is a good mix of all of that. So on social media, what we said was, all right, we need to be posting consistently. That really satisfies the algorithms for each social media platform when you've got consistent and unique posting as well as engagement. So that was number one. We have to come up with creative, consistent, relevant content that their audiences could engage with. Once we had that content, now we need to start thinking outside of the box. All right, so what does that look like? Well, let's start highlighting our team members.
Hmm.
And yeah, we could do a team member spotlight where we ask them, how long have you been at the company? What's your birthday? Who's your favorite sports team? We could ask them things like this. Or we could start to do video team member highlights where we ask them really personal things like, what did you want to be as a kid when you were growing up? What was your dream job? Or what was your favorite Disney movie? And we really get to know them on a level that has nothing to do with title. It has nothing to do with the real estate transaction, but what are we doing? We're getting to know the humans, because people relate to people. It's that P2P marketing that you talked about earlier. So then once we started doing this, now all of a sudden, each of those team members have their family members and their old schoolmates that they graduated with and other people in their networks that are seeing it, that are now liking it and engaging with it. And all of a sudden, you've got engagement on the human aspect of your team skyrocketing. Well, that's great and all, and that may increase some followers, but now to that mix that you talked about, now we need to educate. We need to bring something with some meat on the bone to that audience. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be Title 101 just because I'm a title company. Because again, those real estate agents, they care about getting paid quicker and getting paid more. How much of a headache can you take off of their plate and get them their money faster? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the real estate agent and what they're doing. Let's talk about 3 new tools and gadgets that a real estate agent in this market could be using on social media or could be using for communication. Maybe it's a scheduling tool or a scheduling app that they could be using on their Apple iPhone. Maybe it's another piece of tech that they could be doing to be sending text message updates on where title is. Maybe it's a pizza tracker type of tech and tool, like a close simple that now we're using that helps that real estate agent communicate with their client, that buyer, seller, investor, whatever the case may be. So once we develop these 3 different types of content, now we're consistently posting. Part of it's educational, part of it's highlighting the team, part of it is pictures and videos from the closing table after we close. Well, now all of a sudden we've got this community here that is excited about our content. And now then they're telling other people. And now the other real estate agents in their market or even in their brokerage office are saying, wow, you were tagged on 6 different posts in the last month. Well, who's doing that? And they get to look in, and it's you. It's your company. You're the company that's tagging them. You're the company that's highlighting the people that are bringing you that business. And I tell you what, when you start scratching other people's backs like that with no expectation of something in return, great things start to happen. They start talking. Real estate agents, loan officers, they talk. They talk to each other, whether they're competitors or not. They're always talking, and they're always keeping tabs on each other because they all want to be the best. And that's a great way to really highlight what you're doing on social media with that content. And so that was our most successful social media campaign, and it actually grew that following, Facebook specifically, by almost 35% over 4 months. And results like that can never be guaranteed, but if you really start to focus on your content and the humans that you've got under your roof, and great things start to happen there.
Absolutely, I do agree with that. So, do you think that traditional marketing will die over the period of time, and digital marketing will be key for success of a title company?
I think digital marketing is going to be the key for title companies and marketing, but I don't think traditional marketing is ever going to die. I think as long as there are still billboards along roadsides and there are still signs in front of office buildings, I think there's still going to be that need for traditional marketing. Um, so I don't think that piece is ever going to die. And it's going to be very important. I think it's going to evolve and change, especially over the next 12 to 18 months. But I think the focus of what you're doing should likely be on digital marketing. Again, we are a digital society and a digital civilization right now. And that's the piece that's changing quicker than the traditional side. So I think it will require a lot more of your focus moving forward. But I think as far as digital marketing tactics, the one of the best things you could do is know your market and know your customers. Who are the people that are bringing you those files every month? What are their business goals? Are their business goals to grow in the commercial side of title? Are their goals to grow on the residential side? Are their goals to grow into luxury market, into the luxury real estate space? I don't know, but as the title owner, maybe you could start talking about that because maybe you have tools and tips and tricks or other resources that you could introduce them to help them in their journey. I feel like a lot of businesses always remember other people and businesses throughout the course of their careers that have helped them along the way with just resources and networking. I still remember how I got introduced to Bowe Digital, and I remember the people that put me in the same room as Bowe Digital's owner that got that conversation started, which landed me here today as an employee and the business development manager. And I'll never forget that. And I think your clients and title companies' customers are the same way. They're always going to remember, oh man, ABC Title Company, when I was looking to get into more commercial business, they had these resources that they turned me on to. And I think that's really big. And I think a lot of that you can start to do once you know your audience and you know your customers. That's part of your content that you're putting on your website, that you're putting out in your blogs, that you're writing your marketing emails to, that you're posting on social media, is you're just listening. You're asking questions of your clients that have to do with them and not your business. And then you're creating content around it. You're using what's around you to the best of your ability to elevate the people that you're relying on to bring you that file. And I think another piece of that is I touched on it earlier, knowing the different types of customers you have, that those legacy customers versus the millennial, and then understanding how to market to each. Because a lot of the content's going to be the same, but your delivery method and the tools you use to get that content out are going to look far different. Handouts, flyers, one pagers, little cards that you can give in person are going to be great. And that's going to be exactly everything this group of your customer base is going to need. You go over to this side, and now all of a sudden you need to be tagging people on social media because that's where they live and breathe and that's where they network. They're not necessarily about the in-person handshaking and how you do. They're all about, hey, let's tag you. Let's post a video about this. Let's engage here digitally. So I think traditional is never going to die. It will continue to evolve and continue to kind of swirl around where it's at now. But on that digital side, staying current and up to date with what your customers are doing and where they're engaging. If your real estate agents aren't engaging on your social media pages, where are they engaging? When you start to look at their engagement level on each platform, you'll get a sense of, why are they going to LinkedIn? What types of pages are they engaging with on this platform? Versus when they go to Instagram, where are they engaging here? What's important to them when they're taking time out of their life and out of their schedule to hop onto social media? You can take a look at on your website, maybe you have a heat mapping tool where you can see, where are people really going on my own site. We see a lot of those hot pockets on order title and who your underwriters are and testimonials, but where's everybody else going? What are they doing? Where does that flow stop for them? The more you understand your customers, the better off those relationships are going to be. And I think that's something that's different in each market, because your customers are different, your team is different in each market. So I think digital versus traditional, it really is different everywhere. What are some things that you guys are hearing at Title Assistant as far as the digital presence and digitally marketing versus anything in person and traditional?
So, Title Assistance has a presence online. Like we have a website, and we are tracking the customers, the whoever is coming onto the website. So we definitely have a lead magnet as well on the website, so we can track them. And we are also having a social media presence as well, so we are putting up our content like the posts and videos we use. And with that, we are also going with the email marketing, reaching out to to customers into their email boxes. And these are what other taxes that we are using. And yes, for the traditional one, we do attend some of the events physically to meet the industry title companies in the industry, who we can tell them like who title assistance is, what we do, what we are working on. We are also working on an RPR project for title companies. And we are also like we can like partnering with title assistants, like they can benefit title companies to work as an extension of their team. So this is basically that we are working on online presence, and as well as with the website and on social media.
Yeah, and I think you have to have that multi-prong approach to it, because I don't think anybody can rely on just social media or just having a good website to maintain and build your client base and your success. I think you have to have a foot on every side of that fence and be putting effort and resources to each. I'm glad you brought up email marketing, because that's one thing that, for the last, 10 or 15 years, people have been screaming from the rooftops, oh, email marketing is a dying tool. In 10 years or 15 years, nobody's going to be reading email. But yet, how do we communicate? How do you communicate with your customers and your clients? A lot of times it's directly through email. It's such a slow death for email marketing, but it's such a powerful tool, especially when you start to leverage your contacts. When you start to leverage that database and start to put time and energy into that contact list, now you can create this very hyper specific content to a group of your contacts that's going to be even more powerful and more impactful. It doesn't have to be something that's evergreen or this umbrella marketing email that just says, hi, we're title assistants, we help title companies. But when I want to start to segment, and I want to start to reach out to Bowe Digital customers that are in the Midwest who deal with commercial closings only, well, now all of a sudden the opportunity for hyper focused content is opened. Now I can specifically talk about this one thing that I know is going to reach the people that are going to be able to use it, and they're going to be able to appreciate it on a level that's going to position me or whoever the sender is as that thought leader, as that resource to go to, that's going to know, oh wow, they really understand me and they understand my business, which means they must understand my customers. Maybe this is a good person to partner with. So I agree. You got to have things going in every different direction all the time with your marketing, because your customers don't always overlap from each platform to all of the others.
So how do you suggest the balance between the traditional marketing and the digital one tactics?
You know, Unfortunately, there's not a blanket, one size fits all approach to that. I think it all goes back to what I mentioned earlier, where you have to know your market and you have to know your customers. Knowing who your customer base is and how they're engaging with your content is the most important. If you've got the same client that comes into your office every week, every month, every year, I mean, they're coming in routinely and consistently, you probably need something on the physical side for them. You need those handouts and those one pagers and the flyers for them to take with them. But if you've got folks that are doing that are handling transaction remotely, and they're using Ron, and they're not necessarily stepping foot into your office, well, now that communication style looks so much different. So I think the general mix is you need to be putting resources towards both, unless you know your client, your customer base so well that without a shadow of a doubt nobody cares about the traditional presence, or nobody cares about the digital online presence. And if you're not sure what your customers care about, ask them. Ask them when they come into the office. Ask them while you're emailing them. Ask them on social media in a private message, where would you like to see more content from us? We don't see you in the office much, but would you like something that's physical that you can hand out to your clients and your customers? Do you prefer content be on our website? Do you prefer us to go on a Facebook Live and talk about where your customers should park when they show up for a closing? Or do you prefer this way or that way? And it never hurts to just ask your customers. I think a lot of people have an opinion and they're just dying to share it. And when you ask them, it gives them that opportunity to tell you how they really feel about it. And then, but you got to follow up. You can't just ask and listen and then not do anything about it. So, I think that's how companies should really be thinking about it. Is if I don't already know how my customers like to be communicated with, I need to ask.
Mhm.
Do they prefer text versus phone call? Do they prefer email versus social media? What do they really prefer? Where are they doing the bulk of their business?
So how can Bow Digital can be so important for title companies?
I think we really take the headache out of your marketing. Whether your headache lies in the planning stages, whether it lies in the content creation stage, or in the implementation stage, or even if it's that forward thinking and strategizing piece, that's what our team and that's what our company is here to do. We're going to take that headache out. So whether it's new websites or social media content engagement, or marketing emails or blogs or videos or whatever the case may be, anytime you need to identify or talk about your brand, your services, or your team, that's what we're here to do to help. And that's really the at the core of your marketing. Those are the things you need to do. You need to talk about your team, you need to talk about your services, and you need to communicate what your brand is. And I think that's where we really are able to step in. And like you said earlier, we use the same phrase that you use, an extension of their team. That's our goal. We want to become an extension of your team, so that there is no disconnect in what we're creating versus the voice that you've got in your community and to your customers. We don't want it to feel like you've outsourced something to a marketing agency, but we want it to feel like our office is right down the hallway from the closer's office, or from the CEO's office, or whoever the case may be. We want to feel like what we're producing lines up with your core values and your voice. And we do a really great job about that through communicating with those partners and getting to know them, getting to know their goals, getting to know how their customers like to communicate. And that doesn't come easy. It's not an overnight thing when it comes to doing that type of research and really getting to know, but it comes quickly for us because we've been doing it hundreds and hundreds of times for each one of our partners that we bring on. So I think that's how we can come in and help. And I think that's different for every vendor in the industry. And I know you talked a little bit about title assistance earlier, but what's your approach to really being able to help that title agent or that real estate attorney?
Basically, the thing is you said that we connect with the customers, okay, and we work as an extension to the team, so that they can stop the hassle for hiring some people, or laying off when they don't need them. So we can scale up and down so easily according to their business needs. And I do completely know, and we all know that title companies have a very thin margin, and a partner like title assistance can provide an advantage to them with these thin margins. So, like, we can take the load offs on their shoulders, like in the operations, like the document management, document processing, and, like, you can say order entry, commitment typing, policy typing. You don't have to worry about anything. Title assistance got you covered.
Right. It's great when you've got this full, a lot of people use this term full service. And, a lot of times I hate it because it doesn't feel very personal, but it's great when you have this full service offering that will meet your client's needs exactly where they are at in that moment of their business. And they may need it for now, they may need a little less or a little more tomorrow. But if you're fluid and can help them with that and can be in the moment with them, that's where that partnership really
Exactly.
starts to grow. And I think that's where that connection and that trust person to person is so valuable and so important to the growth of that relationship.
Yeah, everything is transparent.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So, how does Bowe Digital strategy online presence or physical presence in an event?
Yeah. So when we're at an event, or we're getting ready to go to an event, we really try to hit it on both fronts.
Hmm.
While we're in person, it's all about conversation. And that conversation is really derived off of asking questions and then quietly listening. Because the more you listen and the more questions you're asking, the more information you can really get out of them. And the conversation begins to open up into that vulnerability state that I talked about at the beginning of the podcast is, where are your pain points and why is that a struggle? Not only why is it a struggle and a pain point, but why is it important to you? What do you think it's going to get you if you do XYZ? So that's what we're doing in person. On the marketing side, in person, we've got handouts, we've got flyers, we've got this visual representation of who we are and examples of our work as we're marketing ourselves to other title companies, real estate attorneys, state associations, and vendors, and things like that. On the digital side, we're promoting our presence at these conferences and conventions on our social media channels. We're sending out emails to our contact list and to our database and to the attendee lists, if we get them, saying, we're going to be here and this is what we have to offer. Here's what we would like out of you. Informative, and then just being transparent. Like you said, here's what I want. I just want a conversation. I want to talk to you about your marketing. I want to talk to you about your headaches that you've got there. And maybe we're a good fit. Maybe we're not a good fit, but in our network, we've got somebody or something that we think could help you out. Either case, we want to be that resource, whether we partner or whether we don't. We want you to come to us and we want you to know that Bowe Digital has that network to where we can help you. So that's what we're doing digitally and in person as far as our marketing goes when it comes to conferences and conventions and meetings.
So, how do you manage all these conferences and events to attend all
Oh,
these? Like, do you have multiple teams, or Bradley is
lots
always
of
there?
I am at quite a few of them. So there are a couple folks on our team that do the traveling. And, so we're the ones representing Bowe Digital in person and making those connections. And that's myself and our owner, Wayne Stanley. So that's how we're doing it in person. And on the marketing side, we have a team that is handling the geo targeting if we're going to run ads, and they're doing the social media posting, and they're writing the marketing emails and letting people know. And they're also the ones setting up webinars on our end for when we host them and things like that. So it really isn't a one person show. A lot of times you have somebody or a team that's the face, but it takes our entire organization and our network of partners and other industry connections to really make this happen. I mean, honestly, when you're talking about a successful year of traveling and being in person, it's not just one person and it's never just one conference. It's that repetition of seeing you out and about, talking and being a part of these important conversations that are relevant to the changing conditions and the changing market to realize, oh, wow, title assistants, they've been at a few of these conferences and I've listened to 3 or 4 of their podcasts. And that one webinar was really great. Huh. Maybe they really are somebody that I should align my business with. Maybe there's somebody that I should give that phone call or that email to learn a little bit more because they obviously understand the industry that I'm in. And let's face it, not too many people outside of our industry understand the industry or what any of us do. So when you can get that connection, you feel like someone gets it. That's really important. So that's how Bowe handles it. How does title assistants handle the marketing piece and the traveling piece.
Currently we are just working with the social media, Google advertisements, and the email marketing part. And we do attend the events. Like previously, we went on NS3 conference of October
Mhm.
Research in Orlando, Florida. So, like Nabil, Mia, and Aftab, our general manager, and then Nabil is a VP sales and strategy. They visited there. They had a booth set up there, and it was a successful event. So we were there physically meeting the people there of the industry, title industry, and we are planning in this year, 2023, we are planning to go in more events, and hope to see you there. And
Yes, yes, I hope to see
I
you there as
wish to
well.
be there. I wish to be there. Wish to be there, but senior management will be there. I hope. So we
Excellent.
are planning this year. Yes. So, in the comments, Hasib is also asking a question from you. Like, he would like to know about AI's impact in the coming months of the title industry.
So I think AI is going to have a much larger impact on the industry than what it has in the last 6 to 12 months. People, I think, I think title agents and real estate attorneys are looking for ways, especially in a lean-looking year, like what people are predicting 2023 to be, to become more efficient. And if it doesn't make you more efficient or make you money, it's not worth people's time. And if you can become more efficient with implementing some sort of AI in your process, then I think you're going to see a lot more folks that were completely turned off to the idea of AI start to really think about, oh man, how can I automate this process? How can I implement some sort of tech that's going to help me streamline this piece of my business to make me more money or make me more efficient? So I think while some folks don't need full blown artificial intelligence, a lot of them will need some sort of automation. And I think that's a great barrier to entry when you're talking about that conversation around AI. And I think at the surface, when you start to talk about title agent owners, as soon as you mention AI, some of them their eyes gloss over and they're like, "Nope, not for me." So I think talking more about what does AI look like in title, I think that's a great next step and a great next conversation to be having with a lot of folks in the industry, because it doesn't have to be this big scary monster that's going to push out and push away all the need for humans on your team. I think what it can do is it can really help to make the humans on your team more efficient and more hyper focused on what they're doing right now. You know, where the repetitiveness of some of their job tasks and their functions can be taken care of for them. Now all of a sudden they've got something else doing that piece while they can focus on the piece that can't be automated. And they can start to make that their singular focus for every file for every day. What do you think the view on AI's impact is going to be from title assistance perspective? I feel like this is definitely your space. So what are your views on that?
Yeah, definitely. What I think is AI is definitely taking the space because, like, have you seen Chat GPT? Like,
Yes.
yes, they are generating content. Human So, secondly, that when you do really want to create a content, you just give it a short, like you can discuss with it, like you can write, like if you want a content regarding title assistance, or you can write, you want to write a content about the title industry, you want to know about title industry, or you want to know what the tips and tricks of title assistance or in the title industry. So you can just ask it, and he can the chat GPT can generate a content for it in front of you. So
Yeah.
that is a great way that it saves a lot of time.
Yes.
That
Yeah, it does.
yeah, this can be more proficient, and if people use it efficiently, you can be more
Sure.
productive.
And I love the instant response and the instant gratification that you get from that. I think the
Exactly.
one piece that specific example is missing is the human factor. It can't come up with content about your team. It can't come up with content about who your customers are going to see at the closing table. You know, it can't talk to your audience about that. So while I think it's great on the technical side and on the educational piece as far as business to business, The one thing I don't think it hits on is that P2P marketing, like you talked about earlier in this podcast, that is still so important in gaining that trust.
Yeah, it is actually human that feeds the AI bot
Mhm.
that gives you the
Correct.
result of. Yeah. So my last question from you would be like, how do you see 2023 in marketing for the title industry this year?
I see 2023 for marketing in the title industry as a back to the basics. We have to get back to the basics of talking about our story. How did we get into title? How did ABC Title come to even be a company? Where did it stem from? Why did you start that company? Why do you own a title company? You know, especially in a bear market, why didn't you just sell? You know, why are you still in this industry? So I think it's going to be back to the basics. Here's what we offer. Here are the types of files that we're looking for. Telling your customers and your audience, here's what we want. Here's what our goals are. Our goal is to get 3 commercial deals a month. Our goal is to get 25 investment deals a month. And whatever that is, let's get back to the basics and talk about that. So I think talking about who your team is, the markets that you serve, the types of clients that you serve, and what your goals are, I think that's a great place to either revert back to if you've been doing a lot more, or that's a great place to start if you aren't doing much already.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much, Bradley, for taking out time to be with us here. And we'll be with you. And everybody, we will be coming back with another episode with Title Thoughts by Title Assistance. Thank you so much, Bradley.
Excellent. Thank you, Usama and Title Assistance, for having me. I really enjoyed my time here and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.